The president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has promised to bring reforms to Nigeria's education sector from the basic to the tertiary level. Tinubu, during his campaign, said his administration, if elected, would review the education curriculum at all levels to suit the emerging global best practices and current socio-economic realities. He further added that the curricula would be reviewed to ensure that Nigerian graduates become conversant with global trends in different fields and sectors where they can contribute productively to the country's economy. The president-elect did acknowledge that the nation's education sector suffers from a funding deficit, promised to provide the required leadership and mobilize investment for the development of the sector. Joining us now on the morning show as we discuss ways of improving Nigeria's educational sector for the incoming government on May 29th is Chinenye Mba-Uzoukwu, President, Institute of Software Practitioners of Nigeria, ISPON, and Professor Ngozi Osarenren, a counseling psychologist in the Department of Educational Foundations at the Faculty of Education, University of Lagos. She is also a former Commissioner for Education in Edo State. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Thank you. My pleasure being here.
Well, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Well, I want to be partial this morning. I want to start with Professor Osarenren. A Malabar just stood up from that seat. You came in, you took over. You see, that was why I said earlier on that today is Malabar Day. Anyway.
The Malabar.
We'll take them.
You're welcome. Anyway, let me ask you quickly. The president-elect says when he gets there, he's going to reform the education sector from basic to the tertiary level. What kind of reforms would you like to see?
What kind of reforms would I like to see? I would like to see reforms that will be based on honesty. Reforms that will flow from willpower. Because we have all the policies. It's the willpower to implement the policies. Reforms at the basic level. Our basic level is almost comatose. Reforms at the tertiary level. Our children are looking for greener pastures in Sudan. Who does that? How can Nigerians prefer going to study in Sudan? Going to study in places where they don't have the manpower we have, they don't have the quality of curriculum that we have, they don't have what we have. But it's the willpower to do what is right at the right and appropriate time. That is what is lacking. And I hope that is what we may see.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Osarenren, and just a great way to start the conversation in terms of the willpower, which has been spoken about a number of times in terms of other aspects of his plans. But I'll come to you, Mr. Mba-Uzoukwu, especially from the IT perspective. We talked about curriculum just during the introduction, and then also Professor Osarenren has also referred to that. How do you think, in terms of redesigning or developing the Nigerian curriculum as it stands, especially in light of the advancement of IT, AI, and other aspects, how do you think we should begin to rejig the Nigerian curriculum? Where should we start from? Because looking forward, if the president-elect has identified these areas as areas of focus, then we ought to begin to have conversations as to what should happen. What do you want to see?
Thank you once again. I agree with the professor around the political will being a very central element to this. There are a number of other things, though, that probably need to be brought to the table, and technology is only one aspect of that. Technology is more like an enabler, something that can accelerate and proliferate education, access to quality education. But there are other things that are in place. I mean, one of the things that is a challenge, and we talk about curriculum a lot. However, curriculum is going to be delivered by someone. So key questions: do we have the technical capacity within the education system to actually deliver the curriculum, even if we were to get the 21st century curriculum in place? Do we have the infrastructure to deliver it in terms of the kind of schools that we have and the teaching aids that are required? Do we have people who understand the pedagogy, and do we actually have people who really understand the education management component of things? Until we put these things together, I think it's almost like whitewashing or papering over the cracks by speaking maybe exclusively around things like curriculum. It's important, but it's not the most important thing, I believe, at this moment. And I can go into that in a bit more detail if we have the time. But let me just give you one example. The curriculum that is faulty is the same curriculum that is being used to develop the students who actually leave the country and are causing this wave, this concern we have over Japa, people leaving the country, is the same curriculum. If that curriculum produces a student that can go abroad and become, within a year or two of taking professional exams, become a part of the medical faculty, for instance, or a medical hospital, a facility in the US or in the UK, then maybe the curriculum is not that bad. And maybe that may not be the emphasis. And when we think about that, we have to consider, in the UK, I think this year, or 2022, the immigration was only about 20,000 professionals in tier 2 and high-skilled jobs, about 20,000. Nigeria was a close third after the Philippines, with India at about 120,000 a year. So something is right about what we're doing, and we need to double down on what's right, but we're also trying to figure out what is really wrong. When we apply technology into this space, technology can basically multiply and proliferate what is bad. So we need to be sure that we get what is right, get things right before we actually talk about how technology can actually, how we should apply the technology. And there are many interesting ways which we can do this. One of which is access. The second is to close the gap in terms of the quality of teaching and learning that goes on in our schools. And these are very, very, very important issues, and I think they should even come in advance of curriculum review.
Which we don't talk about, how we even get to teach, how that process pans out. Also, and I want you to talk about this, Prof, as regards to psychology of what we teach and how we teach it. Secondly, speaking about curriculum, things have changed. We've had this 6334 for a while now, but because of the evolution of technology, a lot of students, the best they might have to get as regards orthodox education, I would say now, could probably be secondary school. And from there, they might go into a coding class. I had the privilege of going to a school in France on a visit called 42, which was a coding school, where there were no even teachers. You just had tasks on your computer, and from there you learn, and you learn how to code. And that's where a lot of people are going, skill sets and things like that. So I want you to talk about the technology aspects, sir. Then we also segue into the psychology of the students and pedagogy. You first, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, great.
No, after you. After her, after Prof, you'll come up, sir. After Prof, you'll come up, sir. Quickly. Ma. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you very much. The psychology of who you teach and how you teach. In the first place, education is one area that everybody feels he or she is an expert. That is the major problem in education. Everybody claims expertise. And some people that claim expertise...
Like the media too.
Yes. And some people that claim expertise and regurgitate whatever their expert ideas are, have not seen the national policy on education. They don't even understand what it's all about. What is our national philosophy? What are our national goals? And when you now talk about the psychology of teaching, the teacher that is standing before the student, is he or she in a mental state to teach? A teacher that is hungry will not be able to teach well. A teacher that does not have the appropriate instructional materials will not be able to teach well. A teacher that is not properly trained will not be able to teach well. These are issues because presently in our schools, when I told you that the basic education is almost comatose because we left it, is now highly commercialized, because that is where you have the highest number of private schools. It's commercial.
Prof, sorry to interrupt you. We need to take a live coverage.